Welcome to My Morning Cup, a podcast produced by Costa Media Advisors and presented by Rockpoint Bank and EPB. Rockpoint Bank, from Chattanooga for Chattanooga. And EPB, get EPB's fiber optics for the world's fastest community-wide internet. I'm Mike Costa, your host. My guest this week is Dr. Mina Sartipi. Dr. Sartipi is the Interim Vice Chancellor for Research at UTC, the Executive Director of the UTC Research Institute, the Gary Professor and UTC Foundation Professor in UTC's Computer Science and Engineering Department, and the Joint Faculty Appointee with Oak Ridge National Laboratory. She is one of the key architects behind Chattanooga's drive to be a nationally recognized smart city and innovation hub. Mina, before we find out how big your business card has to be to fit all those titles, let me ask, what's in your morning cup?
Good morning. Coffee. I did not grow up with coffee, but now it's coffee.
You didn't grow up with coffee. And again, I'm going to show you my ignorance. Automatically, when you know someone immigrated from, say, Iran, you think, well, you grew up with Turkish coffee or something like that. So coffee's not a big deal then.
No, it's actually tea.
Tea.
Tea is big in Iran. We drink tea all day long. And it's a fresh black tea. We don't usually use creamer or sugar or anything. And it's freshly brewed. We don't use tea bag.
Now, explain to me how tea bags differ from freshly brewed.
Basically, you would actually, we have a kettle and a teapot. So you have the kettle first, boil the water, and then you put dry tea in the teapot and add a little bit boiling water to it and let it steam for a little bit. And it has to be in the right amount of time, because if it's either too bitter or not done yet. So that's the best thing you do for your guest is having that freshly brewed tea for them.
And what is the right amount of time?
It depends on what kind of stove you're using and everything and what type of tea you're using, but usually it's about 5 minutes.
Okay. I got to try that because I drink cold tea. I don't drink sweet tea. Sweet tea is an abomination. I just like unsweet tea.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I like that, but I really don't drink it hot. I always drink it cold.
No, it's just amazing. I don't drink iced coffee, for example. I like my morning drink to be hot. Yes.
I do too. I mean, iced coffee is a dessert. It's a treat. It's,
I know.
It's like getting a milkshake.
I agree.
Well, thank you for being here. I've heard so much about you. I haven't met you until today, and I'm just thrilled we get to hear your story, not just what you're doing now, but your backstory. You were born in Iran.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that. Born in Iran. I'd love to hear about your family, if you have siblings, and what your parents did, and just kind of the whole backstory.
Sure. Yes, I was born in Iran right after revolution. So the country was going through a lot, which I don't remember much of it, obviously, but I was born in Tehran, and I stayed in Tehran and lived there my whole time that I lived in Iran, which I went to college and I came to U.S. after that. My parents, they're not from Tehran, but they had both moved to Tehran in young age because Iran is one of those countries that everything is happening in Tehran and maybe a little bit in some other big cities, but majority of the things is happening in Tehran. So everybody would go for opportunities there. My parents actually met in college. They were both studying accounting. My mom was the first woman in that college that graduated with accounting degree. So she was the only one in that class.
That's a pretty big deal.
Yes, she has been great mentor to me and to my sisters. I have two sisters. And so she has been always there for us to look up to her because she was always saying that there's no limit. The same thing with my dad. So I grew up in a household that my dad was basically with my mom and 3 girls. So
I feel his pain.
yes. But he was a great dad to us.
Yeah.
He was one of those people that would tell you literally sky is the limit. And specifically in some part of Iran, I never felt it in Tehran, but there are part of Iran that they still prefer boys over girls. Carrying the last name is a big thing there. But my dad would always make sure that we knew that that's not something that would be making us stop at anything. And that was one of the major things for us growing up.
Your dad sounds like a great inspiration because not only the time you were born, but a very volatile time in a very volatile country, but still being that positive reinforcement to you.
Absolutely, yes.
And Tehran's not a small city. I mean, when you say everyone comes to Tehran, I think our perception is it's just this big city, and Atlanta's a big city, but Atlanta's what, 2 million people, 4 million people maybe?
Yeah, I think now it's about about 4 million. No, Tehran is 16
16.
million.
Yeah, that's a big city.
It is a big city. It's busy. It never stops. There's so many things happening all the time. And it's so yes, I grew up, and I grew up first half of my life in Iran. The first 10 years was more in the northern part of Tehran, which was more residential and more away from everything. But then my second half, we lived actually closer to the downtown area. So it was a hustle and bustle part of it. And I love that part. I love the busyness of the city.
You know what? There is a great sound that a busy city makes that
Yes.
people who grow up in that have trouble falling asleep when it's quiet.
Yes. I mean, exactly, because it's just like the people were saying, wasn't it busy at night or was it sound? I'm like, you don't hear it.
Yeah.
It's part of
It's just part of it. It's
Yes.
like hearing the crickets.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
So what did your parents do for a living? And I want to just touch on a little bit about, the time that you were born, because it was very volatile.
So my dad was the director of the agriculture in Iran. So he was working as part of the government at the time during the Shah's time before revolution. So when revolution happened, he had to leave his job, and the current government were not nice to him. Like he was not allowed to leave the country. He was not allowed to have any public jobs or anything. And the same thing with my uncle, my dad's brother. He was the undersecretary for education during the Shah's time, that he had to leave the country because otherwise he would have been executed, which his colleagues, unfortunately, that happened to his colleagues. So it was a very rough time for them. And my mom was a CEO of a company, and she also had to step down because of all the things was going on politically. It was not the environment that she could be really surviving in anymore. So they both lost the jobs that they had. They had built their career based on those, and then they moved more to the private sector after that.
And that had to be a huge blow, because they're professionals. They built this career. They have a certain level that they've reached and a level of respect, and all of a sudden that's yanked away.
Yes, and it was more than anything, it was just the part that my dad so I lost my dad to COVID.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I think for him was the community. He was a true servant leader. So he had that in him he wanted to help his community. He took so many people with him. He was one of those people that would just say that you go up, but you take people with you. That was his mentality. So it was not really the job title for him. It was just the opportunity that he could help the people where he was from, which he grew up in a very small town, about 2 hours south of Tehran. That's when people think of Iran and think of desert. That was a desert part that he grew up in. His parents were farmers. They owned land, but they also were farming there. So I grew up visiting that part of that was my best memories of my childhood.
So you had the big city and the farm.
Absolutely. And my dad was one of 10 kids.
Oh, wow.
So I had a lot of cousins. I still have I have a lot of cousins, and that was the best time of my life. That was just going out to the countryside. You can just go out and play, do whatever you want to do with all the cousins, because basically the whole neighborhood was your family.
Isn't that the greatest thing?
It's amazing. And there are times that I feel like I wish my kids get to experience that.
Yeah, absolutely. You talked about your parents really valued education and curiosity.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that. And also, where are you in the birth order with your sisters? Are you the oldest?
I'm the youngest.
Oh, you're
I'm the
youngest?
baby of the family.
Okay.
Yes, and truly the baby of the family. Even my middle sister is only 18 months older than me. But
okay,
for
almost
some
an
reason,
Irish twin.
Yeah, we were doing everything together, but it was one of those things that anytime I was in trouble or anything, she would cover for me.
Really? That's a good sister.
Yes, I have amazing sisters. I mean, to this day, they're truly my best friends.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you talk a little bit about education and curiosity, how that spurred the three of you on.
One of the things that in Iran, you grow up, and I'm sure as many of those the Eastern world, of the countries in the Eastern world, is education is really important because they see that as an opportunity of growth. And my grandfather, my mom's dad, was a civil engineer, and he was a true believer. So all of my aunts and uncles from that side, they all had to have higher education. That was like a mandatory to them. It was not like that was the thing that you have to do. You can't do anything else but studying. And so my mom grew up that way. And that was like the thing for us to know. My dad was not. My dad was on his own. He decided that he wanted to study. This was the way out for him and to do other things that he wanted to do. So it was a very different mindsets there. But they both value education a lot. Like I remember my dad would just be, I always loved math and physics. Those were two topics that I liked earlier on. And it was different from my two sisters. They decided to go to more medical field and I went to the different area. So he and I would play together on math problems. Like literally he would challenge me. Obviously at the time I always think that I'm beating my dad, but it was not like, I mean, he would make it fun, like things that people today, they will tell you that, but why would I study this? I would never use it. He would challenge me in real world problems. So he was like, let's just talk about this square root. And it would just give me a really hard problem, but just like work through it. So he got me always excited about it. And like that, he was one of the people that like really, he and my grandfather, because they both came from that background of a different mindset of the math side versus everybody else was science, more of a different type of science. So he was very instrumental in that. But then the other thing about Iran is to get to college, you have to pass this entrance exam. That is really, really hard. And I had my mind on Sharif University, which is the number one in the country. To get to electrical engineering in Sharif, you need to be among top 100, and more than 500,000 students are taking that test, all around the country. And while Tehran, it has more opportunities, there is a lot of intelligent people all over the country. So studying is if that's the goal, you have to study day and night. Like it's just, it doesn't stop. So, but I didn't feel like as a burden. It was my goal. That was at university was my goal. And I had all the support from my family. Like they knew that, growing up with the big family is our household. We always had guests. Yeah. Always. I never remember going home and it would just be 5 of us. Grandparents were visiting, aunts and uncles. So it was like a very different time. But they would respect that when I would tell them that I have to study for this. I want a quiet house. They would they would really help me with that.
Doing those math problems with your dad had to create a very special bond between the two of you.
Yes, he and I were very, very close.
Yeah. And as part of that, one of the things you told me earlier is you would tutor neighborhood kids.
Yes. I always loved teaching. I mean, I don't even know where it started, right? Like this is during the time that we lived in a very residential area. So it was just in the afternoon, all the kids were out. And we had these soccer, which we call it football, is big in Iran. So not necessarily with fancy balls or fancy shoes. You would just get plastic balls and you always buy 2 of them because the one is not strong enough. It can get easily punctured. So you would cut one in half and put the other one in the middle of it. So you would basically 2-layered.
Interesting.
And then you use bricks or whatever is on the street, you make the goal. Like you don't have anything else. And then everybody's playing. It doesn't matter your age, if it's a girl, it's a boy. It doesn't matter. That's the way that all the kids in the neighborhood would be out and play. And that's short of the winter times, which we got a lot of snow in Tehran. Short of that, like everybody is out and about. So you get to know your neighbors. And while my sister was doing that, I started seeing that if a kid was doing homework, I would be just going to them and, do you need help? And I was only 8. Yeah. I was in the 2nd grade. So I started that tell all the kids in the neighborhood, if you're kindergarten first, 2nd, or 3rd, even the beyond me, come to me. We're going to all study together. And I will help them out. Like, I was just like, I loved it. And I was like, and that's, yes, I still remember I have a small necklace that was given to me as like at the end of the year from one of those kids.
Like a teacher's gift.
Yes.
Oh, that is so
cool. That was like that thing. That's still the best gift I've ever got.
I think when people, and we talked a little bit about this earlier, from an American perspective, I don't think we appreciate the normalcy that other countries have as a teenager growing up, as a kid growing up, and those kind of things. And you're just living a normal life as a kid growing up, whether it's in the suburbs or when you moved into the busier part of Iran.
And what I would say is when you're living in Iran, you almost have two sides of living. One is inside the house in your neighborhood, and one is out in the street. Out is in the street. It's probably less now, but I haven't been back in a while. It's very restrictive. There's a lot of things that you may not be able to do. But when you are inside the house with your family and friends that are similar, like mind-like people, then it's a very different type. It's very similar, like to here. So it wasn't really, when I came here, it's not like people ask me, was it a culture shock? Some aspect, yes, but not in a sense that, I had never experienced this type of living, which I had.
Well, we talked earlier about Anthony Bourdain, and one of the great things about his show is just showing that we've all got the same goals, basically. You want what's best for your family.
Yes.
And food, so much of it revolves around food, and you invite people to sit at your table, and you're just sharing a meal.
Yes. Hospitality is huge in Iranian culture.
Yeah.
We love to host. We love to feed people. You're right. Food is a big part of our culture. And just the time that you spend with your friends and family. And it's not necessarily just the meals. Going to someone's house after dinner, and we call it for tea and sweets. They serve pastry and sweet and tea. You will have it after, and in Iran, we don't go to bed early. We don't eat dinner early. Dinner is usually after 9 o'clock. That was a culture shock here when my friends at Georgia Tech invited me to go out to dinner at 5. I was like, what? What are you doing at 5?
Well, I'm hearing you say 9 o'clock, and I'm going, well, I'm in bed at 9:30. Am I bringing my plate into the bed?
So I think we would eat, and then after dinner, we were like, okay, let's just go to this person's house, or let's invite people, and just you brew tea, and you just have some pastries to share with people, and just sit and talk.
Now you mentioned earlier the college entrance exam.
Yes.
And Sharif University?
Yes.
100 slots and 500,000 people, did you say?
Yeah. And now it's even more. Electrical engineering, because they have a class of 120. So you have to be, because that's the number one major that everybody wants to go to.
But you're obviously a smart person, because at 8 years old, you're tutoring people. So you got one of those slots, didn't you?
I did.
And where is Sharif? Is it in Tehran?
In Tehran. It's south of Tehran, yes.
Can you talk a little bit about your college years, and then I want to get into your postgraduate degree.
Yes. So, I couldn't believe it when the results came out. Because again, that was not the internet time, so you had to wait for the newspaper. And when I saw
so they didn't
name,
send you a letter?
We can't. They do, but first it comes out in a newspaper.
Really?
Yes. So there's a specific newspaper that day that comes out with everybody's name and a code, and the code will tell you where did you get accepted to.
Oh, wow.
So when I saw, and you're looking at number, first you don't even see your name, right? Because you're just so, and then when I saw it, I screamed so loud in the street in front of the newspaper. And so I couldn't believe it. But when I got there, which I'm appreciating all the education I got, but man, that was hard university. Part of it is, I grew up, even in high school, I continued tutoring. That was my job that I was always doing, and into the college, to help people learn, right? Like, you want people to learn. Sharif wants that. But when they test you, the goal for the faculty at the time, at least, is your average should not be more than 50%. So the average of the whole class. And these are the top of the class. Many of them had made it to Olympiad, the international Olympiad one, that they got gold medal in physics, computer science. So you're sitting in a class with a person that is the number one, number two in the world, mm-hmm. in this major of physics, and they can't even get 90 or so, and you're doing the test with them. So they make you they crush your ego completely.
Well, just hearing you say the goal of the test is to make it to where the best person is only going to get 50% right, which by our standards would be a failing grade.
So that, in the years that I was applying, whenever somebody knew you were from that, they don't look at just your GPA. They curve it up, because a majority of the universities in the U.S. know about Sharif, and they know about how hard that school is.
So the university was a lot of hard work through 4 years?
Yes, 4 years of hard work.
What'd you do for fun? Or
during
did you
high
have any-
school, nothing. During high school, nothing, because I was just studying. And then during the college time, it's a lot of like activities with friends. I mentioned like outdoor,
Yeah.
like, and there are many beautiful hikes in Iran that you can go on. So we would go on hikes and like travel. The country it has so many historical places to go. So we did a lot of those.
And you talked earlier about snow skiing and how
Yes.
a U.S. city reminds you of Tehran, huh?
Yes, Salt Lake City. Like if you want to imagine Tehran, is very much similar to Salt Lake City. It's the downtown flat and then hilly streets, and then you have the mountain in the background. So those are the mountains that like in the winter we would go skiing, which I didn't ski during my high school again. I didn't do anything other than studying truly. But then hiking or skiing or any of those activities, and the beautiful rivers and
It's what we don't see on a regular basis.
correct, yeah.
So you get your BS in electrical engineering.
Yes.
And you're going to go for a postgraduate degree.
Yes.
Are you set on coming to the United States? Are there other options? What is the process of that?
At Sharif, almost taking the TOEFL exam, which is for foreign speaking countries, that they have to take the English test. So that's a TOEFL that we have to take, and then GRE. These two should be part of the curriculum almost, because everybody's taking it.
That makes
and
sense.
they're all applying for different, everybody's they don't ask you, are you taking it? When is your test? The other obstacle at the time was we had to go to another country to take these, because US and Iran don't have any relationship. So there's no testing center in Iran. So you have to find another country to go to take these tests, which, think about it. This is not an easy test.
Right.
But you also have to go another country, which you have to some of these countries, you would expect you to go with another guardian with you. You can't go by yourself if you're under some age. So that by itself add a lot of more stress to it, because you're like, okay, it's the cost of it, the time of that and everything. On top of it, you have to pay for these tests and you have to do
And the travel.
Yes, all of that, if you think about it. Yes.
What country did you have to
I
go?
went to Dubai, UAE.
And how far?
It's not far, actually. Dubai is a 2-hour flight.
Oh, that's
Yes.
not bad.
No, it's not.
But still, you got to come up with the expense to do it.
And yes, and you have to spend at least 3-4 days there, because you get there one day and then you stay like the next day to do one test, another day, another, and then you come home.
And is that just to get into a school in the United States, or could you have chosen
Canada as well,
Canada
or some Europe, yes.
or a European country, but you
Correct.
still have to take the same test?
They accept. There's like IELTS is another one that you can take, yes.
So you take that, and how do you end up picking Georgia Tech?
So my senior project at Georgia Tech, I got to work with this advisor who was a graduate of Georgia Tech. He decided to go back to Iran and be a professor there. And he was telling me all about Georgia Tech. And I was doing signal processing, and Georgia Tech signal processing is number 1 in the country.
And what is signal processing?
It's like basically the audio that you're doing, all the audio processing, image processing,
Okay.
everything that we do with videos or audio, those are all like processing the data, which now we more call it, like some of it has changed to machine learning and AI, but processing any type of signal that we can receive. And he was the one who encouraged me, and he wrote me an amazing recommendation letter. I only applied to very few schools because I wanted to go to ones that I really wanted to go. And I was like, okay, I will take a chance of, if I don't get, I will apply again. And I got into Georgia Tech.
And that was your number one choice?
That was my number 1 choice.
So you come to Georgia Tech.
Yes.
First time in the States, I would imagine.
Yes.
What's your impression? Yeah, you get to Atlanta, you land, you go, okay, here I am.
I was very thankful that both my aunts came to pick me up from airport. Many
Yeah.
kids come here and take taxi or MARTA to go from airport to. That's the hard part. But they came, and we didn't even go to Georgia Tech. My aunt at the time used to live in Savannah, Georgia. So we drove directly there. So it was just like being with family. But then I think I remember making a comment about 75. Why this highway is so big? How do you even go from one side to another? I mean, that part of because we were passing by Georgia Tech.
Like 6 lanes?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's like, and I was just so mesmerized by that part. And then I spent a couple of weeks in Savannah, and then I moved. I flew to Atlanta to come and get settled in Atlanta. Finding an apartment and like knowing, and I think Atlanta, I had a different image about Atlanta. I felt like it was more like Tehran or the European cities that I have been to, that are walkable. You know, everything is accessible. But then very early on, I realized, no, I need a car. I can't get anywhere here without a car.
Yeah, particularly Atlanta.
Yes, so it was that was a different thing. But I had I came actually with one of my close friends from Sharif that she also got accepted to civil engineering at Georgia Tech. So she and I took the same flight. We were together, and then
that's good.
So it was, and I ended up having another friend as a roommate that we became best friends.
And talk a little bit about your Georgia Tech years, not just the academic aspect, but the cultural aspect.
Yes. So from academic side, I think I was so nervous because I came from Sharif that you're going to fail every class, right? And the first time that I got 99 in a test, I was like, what? Something is wrong. So academic-wise, while I studied really hard, really, really hard, but it wasn't a problem. But I spent a lot of time at the beginning with Iranian group. There's a big population there, so there was a lot of events that we would be more of like cultural events because we have a different New Year that we celebrated it, those type of things. So it was just still trying to make sure that you don't you don't feel too homesick because it's hard when you come and you're all on, halfway to the other side of the world. And even for me, that I had a lot of family members in the U.S., but still it's not.
Well, at best, you're what, a 12-hour flight?
Yeah, well, it takes 24 hours to.
Does it really?
Because of the, you go somewhere else and then you have a connection and then the layover, and you usually count for 24 hours to get. And so, but it was a really great experience. That's the time that I start getting to know more about sports, because college in Iran, you play sport, but it's not like U.S. We don't have football or soccer teams.
They don't have a Southeast Conference?
No. I didn't actually know such a thing existed before coming to U.S. Europe doesn't have it either. We have club teams.
Right.
But that's about it. So it's not a big thing in U.S. So then going to football. I remember the first time I went to a football game at Georgia Tech, I was like, what is this? What is all of these people doing earlier in the morning? I didn't know what tailgate was. Those are the things that I would say is very different.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was a great, great experience, both academically, the things that I got to do, learn, and then also the social life that I had in Atlanta.
What was the thing when you... that you've walked away from and said, I didn't think I would like this, but I really come to love this?
I mean, to be honest, Georgia Tech was such a big dream for me that I loved everything about it. I remember when I passed through the campus and saw the sign the first time, I probably had the biggest smile on my face. But I would say that I was a very, very academically oriented person, and Georgia Tech opened it up. And believe it or not, because I know that nationally Georgia Tech is known as a very hard school, but that's where I started learning how to dance. I did Argentinian tango there. That's where I met my husband. And then I did salsa after that. So it was just another aspect, because it's such a diverse university. We have so much diversity there that, there is a lot of more activities, because that toward I think after the second year, I was like, okay, I want to do something else, see what else is going on. And I signed up I met another girl, a German girl, that she says, let's go to dance with me tonight. And Iranian people love dancing. Our music is a very happy, you can't, the parties are not a party unless you're dancing. And you dance all through, past midnight. So I was like, yeah, sure. But she didn't tell me this was Argentinian tango. So you have to follow, right? It's not an easy dance, but it's a beautiful dance. So I sat in the corner, really envious, looked at how do these people do it? So the next thing I did was I searched to see that, can I learn it on campus? And that summer they were offering it. So I went there, and it's just few girls. It's Georgia Tech. It's just majority boys. And I just I paired up with people, and I did notice my husband, at the time, that he was in the class too. And then the same friend that got me into that, interested in Argentinian tango, was a common friend, which I didn't know. She came to me afterwards. He's like, did you meet George in your class? I was like, no. He was like, you didn't see? I was like, Anna, this is Georgia Tech. There's all boys. And he says, an Asian boy. I was like, well, half of Georgia Tech is Asian.
Half of those boys.
Yeah, boys. And then there are probably more than half of them are Asian. So that's how that was probably one of the things that I never thought coming to U.S. I would do.
What a great way to meet guys or girls, though. I never thought of that. I should have thought of that in college. Ballroom dancing.
Yes, but it was, yes, I think it was just amazing because, and it became our hobby because we were just like, so now Friday nights and Saturday nights, there was a lot of these events that was for dancing. It was not necessarily clubbing. It was just, they would take a place and it would be just Argentino tango, all ages, all different levels. And everybody is trying to encourage you. So the ones that are more expert, they get you involved. They do easier moves so that you can follow because you can make it up. But that was just become like, so then that's like, we were like, okay, can we do a little bit something easier, something that you don't have to follow that? And that's where we get to more into Latin dance, salsa, casino salsa.
So do you continue that today?
We still dance a little bit here and there, but not as much. But yes.
What a neat skill to have, though.
It's beautiful. Like, you just, yes. And you still, when you hear the music, your body starts moving.
Because I can't dance worth a flip. And my oldest daughter got married 2 years ago, and I remember our first dance. And it was that typical 9th grade kid going in a circle.
My dad was a great dancer, Iranian dancing, which is a free dancing. It's not, but he's just an amazing dancer. So I always, and my mom didn't like dancing much. So he and I were partners always in parties.
How cool.
Yeah. So in our wedding, he and I loved that dance with him. Yeah.
And I said this earlier, you're obviously very smart. You've achieved academically. You come to the States, you go to Georgia Tech. You could pretty much go wherever you want to go. You come to Chattanooga. Talk about that decision and why you're still here. And yes. I mean that in a way of, aren't we lucky?
No, so you're right. So when I graduated 2006. Economy is struggling.
The
recession,
financial crisis.
Yes. So I had met George, and he was my boyfriend at the time we were dating. And after that dance, he was finishing up his postdoc at Georgia Tech. So I wanted to be close to Atlanta, and all my friends were going to Texas or California, majority to California. But I wanted to be close to here, close to Atlanta. And Chattanooga used to be the place for us to go to for outdoor activities.
Oh, because you liked hiking when as a kid growing up?
Yes, we were coming here for climbing. My husband was a great climber. So that was like, I remember Chattanooga, the bridge, the Rock Creek used to be on Fraser. I remember that because that was like apparently everybody would go there. We would go to Clumpy's and also Loopy's. Like these were the places that I knew Chattanooga from those. So I knew Chattanooga when they opened, and I knew I wanted to be in academic world because teaching was my thing. And my heart was always in teaching. There weren't that many positions open. And like when I looked at it, okay, how far out do I want to go? UTC was the one that had a position open in electrical engineering. At the time, I was a faculty at electrical engineering. Then I moved to computer science.
And take us through that process, because you are responsible for a lot of things. And I've been here for 25 years. And what really jump-started Chattanooga during that financial crisis was EPB's focus on fiber and the gig. It helped for us to also be getting the Volkswagen plant. That didn't hurt at all. But it's all progressed so much, and it's really changed the image of Chattanooga. Can you talk about your progression from starting as a faculty member to where you are now, and what's so important to the university in terms of that growth?
So I was the second faculty at UTC that was hired for research purposes, because I always came from top universities that research was a big thing. Like that was one of the major focus areas. And UTC in 2006, it was more of a teaching university. But you could tell that the vision was changing. That's what they were hiring faculty to more lead in a research area. And when I came, EPB's fiber has not started yet. That was a couple of years after that. But one thing that I would say from earlier on at UTC, they were very open to changes. Like, when I was hired because electrical engineering, I was an electrical engineer, and that they had a position open there. But when I came, there was a lot of focus was in power system side of it because of EPB and TVA. My research was more on the signal processing sensors, which became more of a computer science at the way UTC was set up. So I went to my department head and I said, I love doing what I'm doing, but I want to switch. And they allowed me to do that. So that was the very first thing that I joined computer science department. And one thing I would say is they always provided opportunity for growth for me. Like they was never like, okay, so you were hired to be a faculty and that's what you're going to be doing. I established my first lab for teaching and then a lab for research. I had probably the very first postdoc in that college because I brought grants so that I can hire a postdoc. I got the first National Science Foundation research grant, NIH research grant, the largest Department of Transportation grant, the Department of Energy grant, and I always had the support. So I saw the progress of the university and the opportunity for me to grow. But you're right. Like I do remember that at the orientation when even somebody was saying that this is my 5th year, like because we get to meet other people. I was like, what's wrong with you? Why you have been here for 5 years? Because that was the culture. Like you would go to places. I remember majority of my friends, they would say that they would not use their actually work emails because they don't know if they're going to be there or not. But and that was my mindset too, that why you have for growing, you have to move.
Right.
And I also would say that the Chattanooga in 2006 is very different than Chattanooga today, right? Like I was dating someone, but I was single, living here most of the week by myself. Like I wanted to have opportunities of doing other things that I can do because you can't go hike every day or you can't go rock climb every day. And there weren't that many opportunities. So that was the thing for me also to know that is this a place for us to want to live or not? But then my husband moved here. He was still my boyfriend at the time in 2009. And I think part of the entrepreneurship in Chattanooga and the job that I had to UTC was the reason we stayed here. So he was at the time a contractor for NASA. He was building sensors for NASA for chemical sensors. His background in electrical engineering, but in sensors. And that contract was ending and he was planning we were both thinking of, okay, so what's next? I have been here for 2 years. Where are we going? And in 2009, Southside was starting to grow. So we rented a townhouse there. One night we were going out to walk. Nidloaf's had just opened. So you can see that there was nothing. Terminal and Nidloaf's were the only, and the Bluegrass. So there was only the places there. We just went, let's just say for a stroll. We passed by, which I did not know what Collab was at the time. We saw a sign that was 48-hour lunch. I didn't even know what that was. We were like, let's just go to that event. It was like the weekend it was during the weekend. The following weekend was that. So we went to that event and then we met actually Charlie Brock and Collab because he was at the time the CEO of, yes, and other people. And they were so welcoming. Everybody was so welcoming. And George started his company here. So then I was seeing a lot of opportunities for growth for me and then opportunity because when you have two professionals, career people, it's hard. And then we both saw opportunities for ourselves.
One tends to sacrifice for the other.
Exactly, yes.
Because it's hard to find that perfect fit.
Exactly, yes.
But what a great testament to just taking a stroll and happen to run into Collab. And you're right, Charlie Brock's a great guy.
Yes.
And that was a time when that was all just starting to turn.
Yes.
And it was people like Charlie helping to make it turn.
And he was the gig. Also, there was a Geek Tank event after that, because that's around all the time. So you are right. I think what happened was there was a lot of changes in Chattanooga already, right? Like the riverfront, aquarium prior to that and all of that. Tech was still missing. High tech was still missing. And I think that was where the bridge with EPB happened.
Yeah.
That fiber, the gig provided that opportunity. And then the Geek Tank was the event that we went to also, what are the applications, and now obviously with everything else.
You mentioned your husband, George. Talk just a little bit about his company, because I'm fascinated by how that works.
So when we were expecting our first child, I was obsessed with the color on the wall. Because one thing is, being raised by my dad, it was and my mom, but it was one of those things that you shouldn't be thinking of pink and blue. It's not that way. You can be pink or blue or any other color. You do not put yourself in it. So I did a very similar thing to my 2 girls, which I have 2 girls now, was I didn't want everything to be pink. So that I am not putting in their head. So what color goes on the wall? And I had probably 100 different samples. I would keep going I probably had too much time in my hand. I would keep going to Home Depot and buying samples. Uh-huh. And one day George came and it was and he was still working on chemical sensors. So he was always in the sensor side. He was like, what's up with this? I was like, well, the color it's this color, but then when it dries, it's different. When the light hits it, it's different. I don't know. I want this color. He was like, have you checked it digitally? It's not possible. No, somebody has not came up with it. Like this is probably you're not the first one. I was like, well, I did, and I used the app that is there. Is not accurate. That was the story of his company. That's really where he says, like, okay, I'll make it. And Variable became his company, and they are making color sensors. The sensors, like basically a hardware that you put it on any surface, and it will tell you what color it is.
And he started here in the Business Development
And
Center.
he started here at BDC. I remember bringing dinners here as a 8-9 month pregnant woman because I wanted to. But you know how it is when you're starting your own business from scratch. He was the only employee, and then a part-time employee that person is with him still after this many years. I would bring dinner here, and we would have just dinner here.
Isn't it amazing how many businesses start with trying to solve a simple problem that frustrates you?
Yes. Exactly. And you will feel like somebody else should have thought of it, but they
they probably thought of it, but they just never did anything about it.
Absolutely. Yes.
I want to get back to a little bit about what you're doing at UTC. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe a lot of what you were doing involved traffic control signals.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Because everyone always complains that, I caught every red light. I didn't. Yeah. And what's the facility over on MLK? That's
MLK Smart Corridor.
Yeah, that whole.
Yes, and MDRB. So back in 2015 or 16, National Science Foundation had a call that it's called USA Ignite. But basically it was, if you have gigabit internet, how would you use it to improve quality of life in your community? That was the call. And Chattanooga, having actually the fiber, received 2 of those grants. One of them was our grant in 2017 that was connected autonomous vehicles in urban environments. So I worked with a colleague from Georgia Tech, and collaboratively, UTC led it with their collaboration. And it was really starting point of what I'm doing now, because my background has never been transportation.
Right.
I never worked on transportation. I was always a sensor person. But the sensor that in a sense that I will collect the data, I will understand it. But I always work with the domain expert that tell me what we should see or what's wrong with it and how can we solve the problem. In that scenario, it was if you leave, and this is back in 2017, so almost 10 years ago, if you have an autonomous vehicle somewhere, if they lose their sensors, if they lose their connection, how would they know where to go? Like, what would they be able to do then? So what our solution was the connectivity. Let them talk with each other. Let them talk with the infrastructure, and they would understand their surrounding. Like some of the challenges that we still see today. So that's how my story of getting into transportation. And as part of that grant, I had to do a showcase of real-world deployment. I didn't have anywhere to do this. We needed to be able, like one of the applications we had proposed was, what if you could see through the car in front of you? How many times on a highway you're like, there's an 18-wheeler truck in front of you and you keep doing try to see through above them, but you can't. It's a big car in front of you. So our technology was let the camera of the car in front of you talk with your camera so you would know what's happening in front of them. So you're not going to pass them all of a sudden and hit something, potentially a pedestrian or anything else. So we didn't have a test bed for that. And I was in Austin, Texas. I had to showcase it in front of almost 1,000 people. And our student, the team was here in Chattanooga. We were live streaming it. So what we did was we had these cameras. We were holding it with our hand and built the test bed. We told everybody it was not but that was our setup. When I came back, I talked with the university leadership and I said, can we have some funding to build a test bed along MLK? The reason we chose MLK had just gone through the road diet, which was 4 lanes became 2 lanes and a central, and a bike lane, and all of that. So it was a great example. So we internally it was funded. We put sensors on every intersection. We provided the way for them to communicate with each other and all of that. So that was the starting point of the center that we started, Center for Urban Informatics and Progress, back in 2019.
Is that the technology that makes something like Waymo work?
It will help Waymo. You see that it was in the headline that Waymo they stopped the service in Atlanta because Waymo will get stuck in flooding zones because the cameras or the LiDARs cannot see the depth of the car. If you make it too sensitive, then it would not even go over the pothole, right? And it doesn't. Human would understand it, but the car, it doesn't see the depth of it.
Yeah, the car's an absolute.
Yes, so that is the thing that's one of the projects that we are actually working on now. I will be going to USDOT end of this month to present it there, is like having that additional information to the vehicles.
With the research you've done on that, Chattanooga also kind of exploded as a logistics hub. Were they connected, or was that a happy coincidence?
It was a happy coincidence, but there's a lot of applications. So what we started, and Chattanooga has become, like, we have the largest urban testbed in the country. Now that started with MLK, 13 intersections, but through that, it's a very close partnership with City of Chattanooga. We are going to have over 120 intersections, all equipped with sensors that they can all communicate. So you will be able to understand efficiency of the roads and also safety of the roads. There are parts that, like on McCully, right in front of the College of Business, there is no crossing. Campus on one side, parking and housing on one side, and two intersections too far apart. No one was going to go to either one of them to cross.
True.
So we put a mobile unit there, collected the data. We showed it both to Chattanooga Police Department and UTC Police Department, how many people were crossing mid-block and how many cases of accident about to happen. We call it near misses. It didn't happen, but it was nearly missed. The number was alerting. They added a crosswalk. We put our mobile unit back again. 90% of people now crossing over that, and 0 near misses. So those are the type of thing that we are doing it in a larger scale to see that what are the areas like left turns that are not safe or anything like that, what are the ways that we can make it safer.
So the goal, make it safer, but also make traffic patterns more efficient for the commuter?
Yes.
And is that you or the university taking that to other cities? Is there a company set up that does this? Or I'm just trying to get a feel for how it's applied in the real world.
You are right, because a lot of work that always happens at universities is a very abstract work, right? Like we do a lot of fundamental. That was my word for the first 10 years. But this is a very applied research. So we do a lot of applied research at UTC, especially the ones that are multidisciplinary. This is an area that we have all colleges involved, like someone from different colleges are involved in this type of work. So one of the things that we do is we write a lot of proposals because funding is important. These things are not cheap to be able to equip everything or to do the study to come up with the algorithms and such. So we write a lot of joint proposals with the City of Chattanooga. And one of the other activities that we are really working on at UTC is the translational research. A lot of times we do great projects, but it goes on the shelf and then the next one starts. And this is not just UTC. Majority of the universities are like that. There are very few universities that are really pushing hard. So now we are establishing a translational branch at UTC to really not let those projects stay on the shelf, bringing them in our case, literally bringing them to the street. So we have actually 2 spinoffs now, and the third one is going to come.
And you mentioned this earlier. When you got to UTC, it was more of a teaching university.
Yes.
And it's really transforming itself into a research university, which is critical for not only attracting that grant money and everything else, but making it a top-tier university.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's one thing that I would say is not just, I say that about the research too, and the same thing about the tier of the university. It's not just for the sake of brand, like the name or the title or anything. The type of work that we are working on at UTC are the ones that we call it it has to have an impact on the community. It should come from a need from a community, right? Like the transportation was something that the city was talking to us back in almost 10 years ago about some of the challenges. Then we started Quantum. But Quantum was because EPB initiated it.
Right.
Right? EPB initiated it, and we are Chattanooga's university. Okay, so if they are having that, we want to be the university that can provide the workforce, the talent that they need, also the research that they need. And that's how Quantum started. And so are the other pillars that we have.
And I'm glad you brought up Quantum, because wasn't there an announcement the other day?
Yes.
And how many jobs did they say? Or positions that...
We are going to be growing it a lot, triple the size that we have now at least. And that's part of it is because with the partnership with EPB, the economic development grant that EPB has provided to UTC, and UTC is also providing the match to that, is recruiting faculty, the faculty in the right area. Quantum is a big field, and many universities are working on that. UTC has decided that Quantum networking because we have the quantum network, and quantum sensing, as well as quantum machine learning, quantum algorithm, because we have quantum computer. When I say we, I use EPB as a regional we, and those are the areas of the focus for us. So, within these areas, we are going to be expanding our degrees that we are offering, both in undergraduate. Like we have the first undergraduate certificate in quantum in the state. And we are also doing upskilling. We provided like Quantum 101 for ECD, Tennessee ECD. And that was one of the things that is just, quantum is coming. There are other states that are ahead. We want to, and not everyone needs to be quantum physicists. I'm not a quantum physicist. If you ask me deep questions, I won't be able to answer it. But we all need to know, like, what is it and how can it help our city and our state?
Well, and I want to connect the dots here because quantum obviously is the next big thing, and a lot of what UTC is doing and the way Chattanooga is as a lifestyle, I would imagine, is attracting faculty and to continue growing it as a research university. But Chattanooga sits obviously 2 hours from Nashville, 2 hours from Atlanta, but almost more importantly, hour from Oak Ridge, or hour and a half from Oak Ridge, and about an hour and a half from Huntsville. And with taking that lead in quantum networking, what do you see as the, I don't want to say the future, but where do you see that going?
One of the first research that happened in Chattanooga in partnership with EPB and later on with ORNL was quantum network. My background is in the telecommunication, but the traditional telecommunication. So I understand the noise in the system, like how you recover a signal when it's lost during the communication, either wireless or wired. The same thing happens in quantum, but much, much more sensitive. Quantum is really like you can send the photons for too long distance. And you can have it the way we have it for traditional, that you just add a repeater and repeats it, because when you know the state of the photon, it's gone. You can't use it anymore. So that is a challenging problem to think about the long distance quantum network. But that is where the future is. When you talk about quantum internet, that's where we're talking about. We're not talking about short distances. This needs to go a long distance.
Define long distance.
Statewide. Like think about here to Nashville, think about here to Atlanta, think about the whole country. The same thing that we have with quantum internet, like with the regular internet today we have. So that is one of the areas that we had to focus on. And we work with DPP, we work with ORNL to really build that, what it takes from the R&D side to take it from what we have done demonstration here, because UTC has one node, and it's the first U.S. university that actually has a quantum node that connects to the quantum network. So we have that, and using that node, we connect it to the other two nodes that EPB has. So there's one at EPB headquarters on MLK, and there's the other one in Edney building.
Okay.
So we have the triangle, but you can see the distance, right? Like, which is still, but it was a huge milestone, but the distance is still limited. So one of the work that we are doing, UTC is doing with EPB, with ORNL, with other universities as well, is expanding that to understand what is going to take. How can we build memories and repeaters to expand this, so that then eventually, wouldn't that be amazing if Tennessee is the first state that has a statewide quantum network?
And in a sense, you're talking about building digital superhighways.
Yeah,
Isn't
absolutely.
that basically what a quantum network is?
Yes. I mean, and think about it, the security opportunities that these are national priorities, right? Because I don't even know where I heard this, but it was the race to the quantum. You can only be the first. The second doesn't have a meaning. Whoever gets there first would have it. So we are doing our part. Exactly. It's a race, but you should be the first. You can't be the second. And there are a lot of countries in the world that are spending a lot of money on this. And so that's a national priority in the U.S. And wouldn't it be amazing that Tennessee is contributing to it?
Must be exciting to be part of it.
Absolutely. It is it's amazing. It's a lot going on, but it's all exciting.
I got a couple more questions for you. And I want to go back to growing up in Iran.
Yes.
What do Americans get wrong about Iranian people?
I can write a book on that in some senses. In some senses. I think one thing that I would say is the Iranian government is not representing Iran as a country, as a people. Probably more than 90% of the people are against the government. They don't believe in what government does or what government says. And I think that's the part that it's we talked about it earlier. My whole career has been in academia. So I had a much easier time as an Iranian that came to US in 2001. Because, it's a multicultural entity wherever you go as a university. But knowing that Iranian people they're truly kind people, and they are very hospitable. They want to be friends. They want to be involved. They are a very community. Like we always want to be part of a community, and we are not what our currently government is.
It seems if we could all just have dinner together,
Yes.
we would get along a lot better.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So before I get to my last question, I want to remind our listeners who makes My Morning Cup possible. It's a big thank you to our presenting sponsors, EPB and Rockpoint Bank. EPB, get EPB fiber optics for the world's fastest community-wide internet. And Rockpoint Bank, your local banking partner, your business, your bank, your future. And a reminder to listeners, My Morning Cup wants to know what you think of the podcast, so please leave a review on whatever listening platform you utilize. And your last question, Mina.
Yes.
What would you tell that 25-year-old self is important for a happy life?
I would say that when I was 25, when I was about to graduate Georgia Tech, so it was not an easy time. Not academically, I was under a lot of stress with my work, but also economy, and I'm an immigrant. I need a visa support and all of that. So it was not an easy time when I was a 25-year-old. But I will tell Mina of that age that don't worry, just work hard and really be kind to people and really build relationships. And I think relationships and respect your mentors and really look for mentorships and build that community around you.
It's such great advice when we talk a lot about relationships on this show. But I love the fact you threw in be kind.
Yes.
No one knows the struggles or whatever
Absolutely.
anyone else is dealing with. And if you're just kind, you might hit them at the right time that you made their day.
Yeah.
Because it is a struggle. And the last thing I like that you point out, and we've had a couple other people say this, things are going to work out.
But it's at the time
it's hard. You don't see it. It's coming at you a million miles an hour, but at the end it tends to work out.
Yes.
Well, I really enjoyed this. I'm so glad you were able to join us.
Thank you. I have been listening to your podcast for over 2 years now.
Oh,
I was excited for this.
I need to bring you another cup. We got to get your husband a cup. 2 years, that's 2 cups.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. It's good to see you. Thanks for listening to My Morning Cup, a podcast by Consta Media Advisors. If you liked this episode, please share it with a friend. I release a new episode each week, so be sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple, Google, or wherever you listen to podcasts.